Hi everyone, and welcome to Level Up Guitar, where you come to level up your playing. I'm Kalen, and today we're talking about my top 5 blues rhythm tricks. Everyone knows there are a lot of different ways to play a blues, but most of the time these differences come down to playing in a different style, time feel, or structure. But that's not what we're talking about here. It's great to know about those, but what I find lacking in most students is the ability to change up how they play the rhythm part of a standard 12-bar blues in 4/4 time. By the way, if you like my lead playing in the intro, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I have some videos coming up on how to play lead guitar in that style without just playing the same old boomer bends and pentatonic licks. Don't get me wrong, I love pentatonic scales. I have videos on that as well, and I'm going to do more because I think it's important to have your basic pentatonic vocabulary together. So this is going to be all about playing a traditional 12-bar blues, but being able to vary your rhythm guitar playing. You want to have some different ways of doing it, and also be able to throw in some subtle variations in the heat of the moment, depending on what the other musicians are playing. Before we get to my top 5 rhythm tricks, I just want to talk about what I consider to be the most standard comping pattern for a straight-ahead blues, and a few of the subtleties involved that a lot of people seem to miss out on. If you already know everything about playing a basic blues comp, then you can skip ahead to the top 5. But do you really know? Here we have that basic blues rhythm part played in the key of A. The essence of this part is that we're playing the root on one string while we pivot between the 5th and 6th on another. It's a great foundation, but you want to add to this in a subtle way and change it up. The first way I like to do this is by adding in the octave on the next string. When I'm playing on the open A chord, I do this by flattening out my first finger just a little bit so that I'm also fretting the G string. Let me show you how I do this in a dynamic way so that the octave is sometimes playing, sometimes not, and I can actually use it to create musical little mini phrases. So even though it's more interesting, it will still sit very nicely as a foundation without jumping out or being distracting. And just to get a little bit more specific, notice that a lot of the time what I'm doing is I'm using that octave on the upbeats. The other subtle way I like to change up this basic pattern is to pivot back to the 5th on the upbeat. Normally we play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The transitions between the 5th and the 6th are happening on the downbeats. In this simple variation, the pivot is only for the first half of the beat. Now that you have the basics and a couple of ways to play with it more dynamically, let's get to why you're really here. My top 5 blues rhythm tricks. Number 1, add fills in open position. Let's look at this quick example and then I'll explain what's going on. A lot of the time when you're playing a blues, the soloist will play a phrase over the first 2 bars and leave some space over the second 2, leading up to the 4 chord. You can take advantage of this by playing well-timed fills within your rhythm part. Here's the fill I played from the example. This not only makes your rhythm playing more interesting, but it also creates a call and response between the rhythm and the lead guitars. Call and response is a key concept in blues music, and by playing like this, you'll show people that you have a strong sense of the foundations of the blues style. Before we get to the rest of the top 5, I just want to let you know I have some additional rhythm fills available on my Patreon, where you can help support the channel and find extra content, practice tips, and technique exercises to help level up your playing. Number 2, use upbeat phrase resolutions. We talked a little about this earlier, but here's a specific trick you can do over the first 4 bars to build some tension as you lead into bar 5. What's happening here is I'm playing upbeats at the end of each of the first 2 bars, and in the second 2 bars, I'm playing those upbeats twice per bar. This probably doesn't sound brand new to you. It's been used in tons of different songs and arrangements throughout the history of recorded music, and there's a reason why. It just works. It sounds great, and it adds some excitement into a form that would otherwise just be the same chords cycled over and over again. Number 3, add voice leading turnarounds. Most people think that turnarounds always happen at the end of the blues form, but it turns out you can use the same ideas within other sections of the 12-bar form. I know a lot of these examples have been within the first 4 bars, so this one I'm going to show you going from the 4 chord in bars 5 and 6 back to the 1 chord. I love this one because it is super simple, really easy to play, and it works in so many different places. I also love it because it uses one of my favorite concepts, voice leading. And if you haven't seen my video on voice leading, there's a link to it in the upper right-hand corner. Number 4, substitutions. This is when you put a different chord in place of the chord traditionally used in a progression. One of my favorites is using the flat 7 in bar 10. It gives a little more of a rock and roll sound. Number 5, walk up or walk downs. I'm going to just show a few of these that I like. They tend to work better at a slightly slower tempo. So let's say you want to lead into bar 5 with a walk up. That would sound something like this. So at the end of bar 4, I'm just going chromatic from C up to D to land on the downbeat of bar 5. When you go back to A, you can walk down from the D, going to the bass notes C and then B before resolving back to A. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little fancy, I'll do that as a quick slur rather than a walk down. Now going to 5, I like to add an extra chromatic step, so from the A, playing G, F sharp, F, E. In the next bar, I'll go from the root position D, jumping down to the first inversion to give me an F sharp, G, G sharp, chromatic line, walking back up to the A. And from there, I can go to the first inversion A so that I can do a C sharp, D, D sharp, and landing on the E. And finally, I'll sometimes go on the low E string, E, G, G sharp, to walk back up to A at the top of the form. So there you have it, 5 blues rhythm tricks you can use to spice up your blues comp. You can experiment with these, and some of them will work in different places through the 12-bar form. You don't have to use all of them. Pick a few that you really like, and have fun with them. That's it for today. I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you like and subscribe for more tips, tricks, and secrets from Level Up Guitar.